Good evening. I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Community Conversation. We are also honoring Dr. King this evening. But first, let's go to our other host, Mr. Bill Snow, who is author from the Projects to the Boardroom. Also with us this evening, our other host, Dr. Isaac Williams, who is the great pastor of Greater True Baptist Church. Also with us this evening, Carol McIntosh, who's a former principal and administrator, educator, and now the president of the Progressive Black Women. So, Carol, you're going to introduce our other guests.
Yes. How's everybody doing? How's our panelists doing today?
Good. Happy Resurrection Sunday. I'm great.
And we have someone special. I told y'all last week, I see hearts going up already. I told y'all we had someone special. And her name is Annetta Jones. Am I pronouncing that right, Annetta?
It's ANNETHA.
ANNETHA.
Yes, ANNETHA.
ANNETHA Jones. And we're so glad to have you. And she's a special person, not only because she's an author, she's the sister of Dr. Isaac Williams. So congratulations. Greatness runs in your family. So we're so happy to have you. So many authors. You know, is it ANNETHA?
Yes.
Okay, good. ANNETHA. Bill Snow is an author as well, and we've discussed this, and he was our first author that we spotlighted. And once you know him, you'll know that you'll never forget Bill Snow when you meet him.
I'm just loud, that's all.
But we want to talk to you in regards to your book. Now, how long have you been an author?
Well, I'm a newly released author. My book is scheduled to be released next month, and I'm excited about it. We were planning to release it sooner, but I actually had a college reach out to me wanting to have access to my book, and a school who wants to do a professional development. So we want to ensure that we were able to get it into more brick and mortars instead of just on Amazon. So right now it's scheduled to be released in May.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to tell my other hosts that they're welcome to jump in and ask questions, but if they don't, I have plenty of questions because I'm a person who like to gain knowledge from individuals and like to know what's going on in their life. I was talking to you earlier and I was saying that everybody has a story, and your book title is Poverty to Principal, and that's the principal, like principal or school principal.
Yes, it is. And I'm so sorry that phone's ringing in the background. I apologize for that.
You're fine. Mine might be ringing as well, so I understand. Tell me how you came up with that name, the title of your book.
Well, actually, it was quite easy, Carol and Jerry. I actually grew up in poverty, and unfortunately, I was not raised with my father. My father was our father, Reverend Dr. Williams and our father was a very nice gentleman, but he didn't raise me. And my mother was a single parent, and unfortunately, she dropped out of high school. She went back later to night school, but with that being said, she did not have the tools necessary to support me the way I should have been supported being in poverty. She worked several jobs. And so therefore, I was pretty much on my own to be an advocate for myself in the educational system. And when I was in the 9th grade, I share this in my book. When I was in the 9th grade, I was placed in a course because I received free or reduced lunch. I received free, but kids who received reduced or free were placed in this course. And this course was way below my educational potential. And I knew that in 9th grade. So I went home and I was an advocate for myself to my mother. I said, I have to get out of that class. There was a sea of Black and brown kids. I knew something was wrong. And after he introduced the course, I immediately knew that it was far below my potential. And so that's how I became an advocate for myself. And then when I became a principal, and Carol, I know you were a principal as well, correct?
Correct.
You get to see behind the scenes. You get to see the attitudes of people. Like when we're you know, in front of the parents and the community, no one really knows what's going on. But when you're actually in charge of a school, you have to know all the intricate details, the attitudes, the perceptions, and all those types of things. And unfortunately, I was privy to seeing a lot of our kids of color not be treated or supported the way that they're supposed to be treated. And it reminded me of myself when I was in school, not being challenged initially to my fullest potential. And so I came up with the title by thinking about my story. So from poverty to principal seemed very suiting for what I'm doing with my book. The book is not just about me. I start off telling about my story in the 9th grade, but then I go on to provide a guide to students, parents, educators, and budding educators on how we can support our Black and brown students to avoid the common pitfalls that they so often face. So my book provides strategies and suggestions for them to overcome those things. And it's very important to me. So that's how I came up with my title. And I'm very pleased to be able to promote equity and student advocacy through my book.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to say? Jump in.
I just like to add the comment that it's so remarkable how similar our lives are, because in 5th grade, I was in a special class for slow learners, and I actually read one day, and the next day I was out of that. This teacher recognized this guy has no reason to be in this class, so it's amazing. I like that.
Well, you and I have to talk one-on-one, Mr. Snowbill, one day. I'd like to hear more about your story. I'm going to get your book, actually.
Well, after they spotlighted it on this program, I ran out. I've got a reprint, but yes, ma'am, it's more a bunch of blog about short stories that led to who I am today, basically. But it's nothing much. But
I'm sure it's much. I want to hear it. Read it for myself.
Well, can you tell me, Ms. Jones, is it Miss or Mrs.? Because I want.
Well, it's Mrs. And as a matter of fact, I'll be celebrating my 32nd wedding anniversary on April 8th.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, Mrs. Jones. I know that you said that you were going to focus your books as a guide to promote equity and student advocacy.
Yes.
So you're promoting equity in what way with the educational system? Exactly what are you doing and what are you focusing in on?
Well, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking me that. You know, through my background and my personal and professional experiences, one of the things that has really stuck with me is, you know, we talk about equality often, right? And we talk about equity. Well, when you think about equality, that means providing everyone with the same things. For example, if you look online, there's a picture showing that these kids are at a ball game. So they were all able to go to the fence and look at that ball game. But the problem came in when one child was really, really small. They could not see over that fence. So we need to make sure that they are provided with equity as well as equality. So what that means to me is meeting a child where they are in their needs and giving them that extra layer of support. And that was one of the things that was so important to me when I was a teacher and an administrator. I wanted to ensure that every one of my students had an opportunity to be met where they were, but they don't stay there. It is our responsibilities as educators to lift them up, provide them with the essential tools so that they can reach their highest potential. And unfortunately, in the 9th grade, I didn't receive that until I became an advocate for myself. That is why the second part of my book is to promote equity and student advocacy. I was able to achieve or to do better than what the class I was placed in. So I needed to make sure that I voiced that. And when I did that for myself, it became a huge part of my whole being that I would do that for any child who lacked that type of support. In doing so, I actually started 2 mentoring programs to support students, to provide them extra layers of support. And I serviced more than 300 students through my mentoring programs. And I was very, very proud of those programs because it helped students.
Do you still have those programs now, or?
Well, actually, I'm recently retired. However, I retired as a principal, but I am still working as an educational, well, I'm not paid. I volunteer my services as an educational consultant with the University of Central Florida and the Harry T. Moore Center. And Harry T. Moore, by the way, if you're not familiar with Harry T. Moore, he was an amazing man from this area. He was one of the earlier civil rights leaders, and he was bombed in the 1950s by the KKK because he was promoting equity, equality, voting rights. He was a principal of an all-Black school here, and he is one of my role models. He's one of the reasons why in this particular county, which is where he's from, he was a principal at an all-Black school. And so I looked to what he did to give me motivation to continue to do what I did, because I didn't say this at the beginning, but I was actually named the first and only African-American female of a high school ever in this district, and it still remains the same.
Wow.
And when I was named that position in 2017, unfortunately, there was a different person in the White House, so they were very emboldened and they resisted me with great might. I was not welcomed, and as a result, it was quite challenging, but I made sure that I used every tool I had to ensure that my students met their learning goals. And as a result, with less than 2 years, the graduation rate increased by more than 5%, and the suspension rate for my Black males decreased substantially. And that was with a very small, my support group was not as large as it should have been to meet those goals. And so Harry T. Moore was integral to me. He was an instrumental part of me fighting to do as much as I could for my students of color and all of my kids. You know, I fought for all of my kids, but you guys know that our kids of color oftentimes need that extra support.
What school was that?
Go ahead.
Titusville High School in Titusville, Florida. And you want to know something, guys? I talk about this in my book. That is the same school where I was placed in that 9th grade course that did not meet my potential.
Yeah, God has a sense of humor for sure. For sure. That's amazing.
I think also important, what ANNETHA is saying is that oftentimes with our children that are of color, Black and brown, is that they need more help than just in their home. It takes that village. It takes a person like her who take these little boys and they don't even have she had a little dress code for them. I think they wear khaki pants and I forget what color shirt, but they couldn't afford the khaki pants and the shirt. And she was out of her own pocket. She go and buy them the clothes and put them in there, get them their little jacket to show them what a man needs, what a young man that's going to be respected. And you're amazed. You can only imagine how they say, well, someone sees value in me, and then they don't want to let you down, and it perpetuates. And so I think that, to me, that's crucial, because they'll go back and tell their friend, they'll go back and tell their mother that there are some people who still care about us. There are some people who are still in the struggle for us to bring about equity and equality for all of us. Absolutely. Most time that once you get in the position of principal, you have so much pressure from the administration and everything.
I was gonna say that.
Okay, that you don't have time to care, but to carve out space to do that, I think it speaks volume.
I was going to say, I'm glad she said that about the difficulty of becoming a principal as a woman in those, especially if it's a small towns, because they really don't, especially Black women, they really don't push. And if you get there, they don't support you, because their whole thing is to see that hopefully that you fail, so they can put someone else there. I know you were saying that you had a lot of those, you dealt with some of that issue.
Absolutely.
So how did you overcome it? I mean, how did you deal with it?
Well, Jerry, to be quite frank, it was really difficult, because I would like to say that I was hugely supported by the district, but I can't say that. There were some who did support me. There were some, but they didn't want to face the pressures of the parents in the community who mostly didn't look like me, or some of the misogynistic behaviors that I experienced being a Black female, a woman of color, a double minority serving in a county with so very, very few minorities. It was hard. I didn't have a lot of support. So you know what I did instead? Well, I have to actually give some credit to my brother. Like, before I go any further, my brother is Dr. Williams here. He is a praying man. He has been my rock. He has been a huge support to me. And I would often call my brother and, you know, tell him what I was going through. He would pray with me. And that was huge. I mean, it helped me through my day to day, because you can imagine, Carol knows this, when you're going to work and you're in charge of 1,200 kids and you have like a handful of people who support you, it was really difficult. So I worked all the time. So Jerry, how I handled it mostly was through prayer, first of all, the support of my family. I have a wonderful husband, 2 wonderful kids, my brother, my brother's wife, and a host of others, my family, sisters and brothers. I have support. But I worked all the time. I had to do the job of those who wouldn't do the job for me. So Carol knows what I'm talking about. When they dropped the stick, I was there on Saturdays and Sundays all day and all night. My husband was calling me at 8 o'clock at night on Saturday saying, you need to come home. I'm there on Saturdays calling parents and, hey, there's a way your child can graduate because they're falling a little short here. This is what I can do to help them meet those goals. I was the one making those phone calls, but a lot of people didn't know that. So when I was doing all those things, you know, Carol can tell you, I would go around, good morning, hi, smile. But knowing I was drained because I worked all night, I would come home and work till midnight. I would go to work, be the first one there. And oftentimes at a high school, being the last one to leave. But that's a lot, because at high school, you have football and basketball games till 11 o'clock at night. I'm there till midnight or what have you. So that's how I did it, Jerry. It was very, very challenging.
And Jerry's probably speaking to this because he understands what I went through as a principal. And so he wanted to know how you did it, because he knows it was very, very difficult for me. You know, when you have your director tell you that you'll never be treated like a white principal. I mean, just tell you that. And then I had a major operation. I was supposed to be off for 8 weeks. And they called me at home and asked me when I was coming back that I had to go back to work, and this is a fact, with a hole in my stomach because I hadn't healed, with a pillow holding my stomach up.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to make sure that my school was taken care of. And people don't know the pressure that Black administrators go through. And if you don't have support at home, I had support of my family and my husband. He supported me every way. He really did. And that helped me push on, but it was very difficult.
So then you both understand some of the obstacles and the challenges that I face. And so
yes,
yeah, they're very similar, and it is hard. Carol, I'm sorry that you have those experiences, but Jerry, you said it when you first began the question to me. Oftentimes we're not set up for success. Oftentimes women of color are placed in positions where there's not much concern for us to be successful. So with that being said, I worked double time because I said, you know what, I'm not going to be a failure. I was a principal. I was assistant principal of the year. I was teacher of the year. I was nominated for principal of the year when I was at the middle school level, because here, high schools have been reserved traditionally for our counterparts. Like I said, I was the first and only African-American female, and there had only been 2 Black males, and one of which had just gone before me a couple of months before. So it was very, very, very few. So I wanted to make sure that if I failed, what it meant to me was that I was failing my students.
absolutely.
That more important than myself failing, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I did not want my kids to fail. So as a result, the graduation rate at Titusville High School increased because of my efforts to ensure that my students did not fail.
On our live Facebook stream, Michael Kador, I hope I'm not butchering his name.
Hi, Mike.
Nick Jones is a great mentor and continues to inspire and is never too busy to share knowledge. Then Miss Kay Manning goes on to say, Miss Jones is a member of St. James AME Church in Titusville, Florida. That comes live from Facebook.
Yes, I want to say thank you to Michael Godor, is a councilman in our area, and we actually attended high school together. And he works very hard in our community with the students as well, mentoring programs, all types of things. So I want to thank Mr. Godor Michael Godor for coming on, and also Miss Manning. She is a retired teacher from this area, so she's seen some of the challenges, and she's actually a support for me. I talked with Miss Manning today, as a matter of fact, and she shared some of her challenges when she was a teacher several years prior to my becoming a principal. So thank you for sharing those comments, Bill.
And I'm glad that I didn't butcher his last name. Thank you for repeating it for me.
Miss McIntosh, I think it's a chapter in the book that that is very important, that parents as well as educators, you give steps. I forget what chapter that book, where you give them steps how to help them pick the courses and do everything to navigate them through a system that really is like a maze. It's set up for you to run to dead ends. And once you run into dead end, most folks will throw their hands up. But she gives step by step a guide for parents as well as educators, as well as teachers. And I think every person that loves children that going into education should read this book. It's a phenomenal book that just kind of take a deep dive into, if you really care about students, how you can advocate for them so that they can be successful on the journey. What are those steps? If you remember those steps, can you share those steps?
So Dr. Williams, you're right. I have chapter 3, it's called Proper Course Placements Must Be Deliberate. And once again, I know Carol, all this resonates with Carol. Oftentimes, unfortunately, kids of color, once again, are not challenged to their highest potential. So there were very, very few students in my advanced placement. When I got to the high school, there were very few kids in advanced placement courses or dual enrollment courses. And those were some of the phone calls I would make to parents and say, hey, I've reviewed their data. They need to be in these higher level courses and be challenged. And so in the book, I do list those steps. It's quite extensive, so I can't go step for step, but I will tell you one of the things I do here is I share with the parents the types of courses that are out there and how their kids should be targeted for those types of courses. And one of the things, once again, I did was I would myself personally, as a principal, I would pull their test scores. I would talk with their teachers. I would then pull the kids and say, you know what, you are smart enough to be in a higher level course. And therefore, I'm placing you in this honors course. And so sometimes I'll tell you guys, it was quite surprising when this first happened to me. The first time it happened, I was at the middle school level as a principal, and I had this very, very bright young man, a Black male. And the counselor came to me and said, this boy deserves to be he should be in a higher course. Well, I just thought I would go to him, and because when she went to him, he said, no, I like where I am. When I went to this young man, I thought, oh, he'll accept my, recommendation. And initially he was okay. But when I told him that you really want to be moved tomorrow, he really resisted that. And so to make that long story short, he resisted that because he was comfortable where he was. Where I was trying to place him, there were very few kids of color. He didn't want to be labeled as a smart kid. He was fine. He didn't want the kids to know how bright he was. So in this chapter 3, Dr. Williams just talked about, I do talk about those steps, how we should identify and target our kids for that. Oftentimes those kids will say, I don't want to do that. It is our responsibilities as parents, educators, etc., the village, and I talk about the village in my book a lot, it's our responsibilities to push them to a higher level of education.
And I think you're so right. I found out too, a lot of times the parents were letting the children decide on what they wanted. And they would say, well, they don't want. It's time for the parents to tell them, this is what you're going to take, this is what you need, and because you should know exactly what is going to be best for that child. And so I think they need to switch that around a little bit more, and the parent take control of the situation.
I agree, Carol.
Did you find that there was a difference between the male students and female students in regard to their needs?
As far as their needs concerning academic or like struggling financially or?
Academics and socially.
I would say there are some differences between the males and the females. I found that sometimes our female students received the recommendations to advance themselves a little bit easier than the males. The males, a lot of times, that want to be labeled as smart. They want to be labeled as cool. It was more important for them to be labeled as cool. Well, where that stems from, based on my conversations and my research, is that unfortunately at home, like you just said, they weren't pushed to take those courses at an early age. So by the time they reach a secondary level, they're like, I'm fine, I'm good where I am. And they don't want that extra challenge. They don't want to be the only Black boy sitting in a class of all Caucasian kids. So I would say the girls were a little bit easier to convince, but I really worked hard to convince my kids. And I talk about it in my book. There was one little boy I shall never forget. It almost brings tears to my eyes when I think of him. He had never had an honors course, period, until I got to the high school. He was in the 11th grade. I pulled his records and I said, you're going to take an honors course. And I was prepared to have to talk him into it, but instead he was like, are you serious? Me? He was so excited. And every day during lunch, when I was present and the child was there, he would come and report to me how well he was doing. And by the way, he did very well. You know, not all kids will do exceptional with those challenges, right? But this boy did, and a lot of the kids did do well.
Okay. I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to let the panelists have a last question so we can wrap this up. But do you have any concerns regarding student achievement during this time of COVID, you know, with remote learning and brick and mortar learning? I have a lot of concerns. Do you?
Dr. Carol, I'm looking at but this is the back cover of my book, and this is the front cover sitting behind my shoulder there. And I'm looking at the chapter 8, and my chapter 8, the impact of virtual learning on Black and brown students. I have extreme concerns because, Dr. Carroll, you'll know this, over the summer, our kids, particularly kids of color, they come back in the fall with what's called the summer slide. The summer slide means that they probably weren't reading over the summer, so therefore they have this gap now that has grown from when they left in June and they've come back in August. And so the kids, their counterparts, are ahead of them. So now those kids struggle even more from the summer slide. So because of the distance learning, the virtual learning, some of those kids did not have the resources to, you know, have the bandwidth for internet and all those types of things. There will be struggles. As a matter of fact, I'll be very brief about this, but I was telling you earlier that the University of Central Florida and the Harry T. Moore Center, there's a grant, and they asked me, the Harry T. Moore Center asked me to be an educational advocate or consultant for this grant. And we were successful in getting these kids of our community, several of these kids, computers to take home for extended learning opportunities, bandwidth for those kids who might need it, and we hired facilitators to work with them one-on-one through the virtual process, because that way they weren't so intimidated by the virtual school teachers through the Florida Virtual School. So yes, I am very concerned about that. We are going to see some very challenging situations when these kids really get back to school.
I agree with you. And do you think that, and I want to collaborate with you, being retired principals, because I think that the need is going to be so great, and I say it all the time, that we need to start formulating programs that can help these youth. And I'm hoping some of the community centers and organizations, churches and everything else jump in because of the fact that we're going to be in serious, serious trouble with our youth.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Any of y'all have anything you want to say?
I'd like to make a statement more so than anything. I'd like to take my hat off to our guest author tonight, first of all, because the fact that her heart is in it. Her heart, I mean, is indicative of the fact that she's still volunteering today through colleges. But there is a program, Ms. Kara, Joy, J-O-Y. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but I know that Y is for you. Sister Barbara Tyson, she has gone to the community project, just trying to get a way to help and better. So that I'm not sure she's on our live stream tonight. She was earlier, but she is doing some phenomenal things when it comes to our youth and helping them to try to stay afloat.
Bill, I'm glad you said that, because we just had her on our program Thursday night. You know, we have Let's Talk on on
Oh,
Thursday.
what's she on? Okay,
She
okay.
was just on Thursday night talking about the program. And, you know, she's doing she's helping students with writing their own book, Mrs. Jones.
Wow.
And at the end of this 9-week program, they actually will publish a book. And it's just fantastic. So we're going to do everything we can to support her. That's just one of the programs she's doing.
Yeah.
So hats off to Barbara Tyson.
That's
We're really,
amazing.
So anybody else
I-
have anything to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is like Bill, it's a statement. I'm glad that you are on with us tonight, and I believe you're gonna stay the whole show.
I am.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, one of the things that they talked about, some of the most elite students are now dropping, their grades have dropped tremendously. And that in itself says a lot about the students that's not really prepared and don't have the bandwidth and broadband internet and all that they can be reached on a constant level because so many other factors even before now with this virus out there, it has devastated a lot of young students that's in school.
As Pastor Williams put it earlier, it takes a village. And Carol, I would like to communicate with you more. I understand you had a program that you were doing before COVID at Greater True Vine with the girls or with the students and those types of programs. It's going to take more of us. And that's why I don't mind volunteering my time. When they first called me to be the educational consultant with this program with UCF, I thought it was going to be like 1 or 2 conversations, but now the people from UCF call me on my cell phone like, no, we need you, you know. And so I don't mind it because I know our kids need it.
Yes.
They need this extra support.
Right. And I want to say this. I'm glad you brought up the Progressive Black Women's Coalition Rites of Passage program, because I want to take this time to give homage to Dr. Isaac Williams, the pastor of Greater True Vine Missionary Baptist Church, because without him saying that the Rites of Passage program can be held at his church, we had no facility. We knew we wanted to help young girls. We knew that before you can do well academically, you have to do well socially. You have to know who you are. You have to have knowledge of self. And God just put him in my path over. Jerry asked him, he said, well, we'll ask Dr. Williams. I'm telling you all, I went to him, and with Jerry and I sat at his desk, and without hesitating, he said, whatever you want, whatever part of facility of the church you want, we'll give it to you. You're helping young people in the community. And for 4 years until COVID, we had the Rites of Passage program with about 30 young ladies. And I want to say thank you so much, Pastor Williams, because you allowed us to help so many young ladies. And I'm hoping that we'll have many, many more ministers like you in the community. Thank you.
Can I make just one statement? It's kind of interesting that Sister Anita, she took my statement that I was going to say.
She took a lot of my favors too.
Yeah, I was going to talk about you. I said, I know we showcasing Miss Joan tonight, but don't you all take your eyes off of Miss Carol. Like, she is a phenomenal personality. I wasn't going to mention about what you were doing at our church, but that just said that it was meant to be. You all are impressive women of stature and color, and I'm proud that you all are part of our, what do you call it? Our community, the community of color. I'm proud that people like
our village.
You're part of our village. That's the word. You're a part of our village. That's all I have.
Right. And we're banding together, and we're going to find out about more people that can help the community, our youth. And Anita and I mean, it was just, we're together. We're together, and for a long time, we're going to communicate and see what we can do to get the community going. But we're going to have to move on. I want you to finalize, to end this by telling the people how they can get your book and give them the information, the title again, and when it's coming out and how they can get it.
Well, first of all, Carol and Jerry and Bill, I would just like to thank you all and Reverend Dr. Williams. Thank you all for having me on the show tonight. It is my honor and it is my privilege, so I really appreciate it. The name of my book, once again, is From Poverty to Principle, A Guide to Promote Equity and Student Advocacy. I will be advertising real soon the release date, but you can find my book soon on I have a webpage, ANNETHAJones.com. I also have an IG at Annetha Jones, and I have my author's Facebook at Annetha Jones Author. So my Facebook is Annetha Jones Author. I will be putting it all out there everywhere for everyone to see. But I want to once again thank you guys so much for this opportunity. The book will hopefully be available. We're working on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and then myself to distribute, as Bill Snow just said he did with his book as well.
Mm-hmm. Would you be interested in coming back on again once your book comes out, and maybe spotlighting each chapter so that people will know exactly what's in the book and that they need to go out and get it? Would you do that for us?
Carol, it would be my honor. Not only am I interested, I welcome that opportunity greatly. So please do have me back. And I also would love to speak to your group of girls via Zoom or however you like. One of these days when you get that back and going.
Oh, sure, I would love to have you speak to it. But
well,
now
it won't go this year because COVID's still around.
Oh no, we know. Yeah, we won't be doing anything until 2023 in a building, in a facility.
2022
2022, right?
Yeah.
It might be 23, but
It may be 23 because we may have this second wave that wipe out all our work. Well, that's my next conversation.
Right, right. We get into that, but whenever we're going to start some virtual programs, Annetha, and then I will let you know, and I would like you to be a part of that, if you don't mind.
Thank you. I would love that very much because I miss my mentoring programs. I had the two and the kids were amazing and I miss that. I'm still mentoring, by the way. I'm mentoring young adults who want to become leaders, administrators, and those are minority people who want to become principals or assistant principals. But thank you guys once again. I'm looking forward I can't wait for the next part of our segment. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to go right to our next segment. Jay?
You're watching Community Conversation. Be sure to like and share the show. This show is all on channel 12 WBQP TV. Be sure to check out Vernon at Fire Stick and his YouTube channel. But WBQP TV channel 12.5. We're simulcasting with Vernon Watson. Be sure to check him out, but be sure to like and share the show.
Right. Now we're going to go into our COVID-19 update. We always talk about COVID. We try to get everyone updated on knowing exactly about the vaccines and whatever else. And our specialist for that is Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, are you ready?
I am. I'm certainly ready. I constantly think about this pandemic. And the reason my passion is, I don't think I shared this on the show before. I asked the Lord in my devotional time, I said, God, what is it that you want me to say to your people about this pandemic? I said, as a state president, they call me, they ask me, hey, what's going on? And I haven't heard from you. I can't speak for you, God, if I haven't heard from you. And so I said, God, what do I say to the people? And I'm not sure how long later he responded to me, but then one day I heard him in my spirit person. He said, tell those who are in leadership, in spiritual leadership, that I need them on the other side of this pandemic, just as I needed Joshua and Caleb on the other side of the wilderness. And that resonated with me. Okay, yeah, we got to get on the other side of it because millions died in the wilderness. They didn't have to die. They didn't have to die. They didn't. Right now, we don't have to die in this pandemic, but we are dying. And so my passion is to get us on the other side of the pandemic. And on the other side of the pandemic is there where you can begin to flourish again and do the things. Now notice this, and this is good news. I had a luncheon with the mayor. I think it was Thursday. I don't think I talked with you yet, Jerry, because it just dawned on me. I was working on another piece. And he has partnered with us to fund what we need to do. And he's prepared to write a huge grant.
Wow.
Notice what I said, huge.
Yeah.
And he asking me now to go to the county and ask the county to match or double what he's doing. And so that's why I need you, Jerry, because he agreed with me. The problem is not right now vaccination. The problem right now is hesitancy and reluctancy. And they need trusted voices to trusted venues for us to get out there and convince our people that if we're going to get to a new norm on the other side of the pandemic, because it's not over. Believe me, these other folks are doing the same thing that DJT said this time last year. It's going to be in our back windows, in our rear view mirrors. That's why I can't stand that little vice president. I didn't want them to kill him, but they should have run him out the country because he lied worse than Trump, but he tried to lie with a sense of spirituality with his God. No, you lying through your teeth just like Trump. You know that pandemic was not going to be in our review. You were right there getting firsthand information how deadly and destructive this virus was, and let all of our people die. And so I need whoever will partner with us. Right now in the state of Florida, 6,299,638 people been vaccinated. Notice 6,299,638 been vaccinated. Guess how many of those been Black folk?
Very small number.
We at 7% now. That's a sad commentary. That means 93% of our people are still not protected. The wife and I, we were in Publix a couple of days ago. I don't know what day it was, baby. We were in Publix a few days ago. And he's really not my friend. He's acquaintance. We always kind of jug at each other because he works there. And I went into Publix. I said, "Oh man, I ain't seen you in a while." He like, "I don't even recognize you with that mask on." Because he doesn't believe in COVID. He brother. He doesn't believe in COVID. Did you catch me?
Yes.
He working around in COVID all day, but he said, I said, "Yo, man," I said, "check it out. I'm not gonna take that shot." He said, "Man, I don't believe in no COVID." I said, "Wow, man." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna leave you alone." Did you catch that? We got people who, and he's a smart young man. He ain't crazy. But he said he doesn't believe in COVID. And he said, they give you that shot, they want to kill you, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, brother, come on, man. You know the side effect of COVID.
But a lot of people believe that. They
Yes.
believe this. I heard it on a radio talk show just yesterday. And these people believe that if they get the shot, that the government will be able to control you. It's like they can turn on a switch and we're just going to be robots. This is what they're saying, and they really truly believe it. So how do we go about changing this? They are serious about it, and they're saying they're not going to get the shot. So how do we go about?
I think what we have to do first, like Dr. William has said, the ones that want it, we have to make sure it is available for them, that they can access that vaccine right away. And then, because it's proven that it's saving lives, because you don't have to go into the hospital for long periods of time. And they are saying it don't damage your extremities, your lungs and kidneys and heart and your brain and all of that. If you mess around and get it, even if you recover from it, there are long-term effect from this virus, from this COVID, that will never be healed. They are telling people that, that it could have, some people they may heal totally, but most won't, because there's going to be some kind of damage done. It is like Something like pneumonia is gonna leave scars on your lungs if you got it. It is doing, causing people to lose memory. Kidney, that's a lot of people got to go on dialysis and all of that. So that's just, and we're looking at what they call the fourth wave in the country, because people have just let themselves go, just dropped all guards against this thing.
But back to the fact, and I know that's a deep question as far as how do we change the mindset of too many of our people that will not get it. And then the mindset, the second part of it to me is the people that have gotten the second shots, the 2 vaccines. Now they think they are immune. They don't have to wear a mask. They, I'm free, I won't get it. How do you combat that as well, Dr. Williams? So it's 2 fronts. People that are vaccinated, but you still can catch COVID. People that will not take the shots at all.
Can I let Bro Bill take a stab as a layperson from their perspective? Then I'm gonna come in and see, am I agreeing with what he's saying? How about that?
Okay. Rephrase that, Ms. Carroll.
There are two points. They're the people that will not take it whatsoever. How are you going to change their mind if you can change their mind?
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then there's not and you have people that have taken the 2 vaccines, but they think that they are immune and they can't catch COVID, even though they've told us you can have your 2 vaccine, but you still can catch COVID, but it might not be as severe. But they're taking as though, hey, I'm finished with it. I don't have to worry anymore.
With over 6 million people in the state of Florida vaccinated already and such a small percentage of Blacks there, I don't know if that's a hurdle we can overcome. I mean, that's an uphill climb. So, I mean, you give people the facts and let them make their own decisions. The Black people, the way they feel, I halfway sympathize, but I am not vaccinated and I'm still weighing my options, guys. But the ones that have, I've seen reports and I've read things to the fact that people are catching COVID after the 2 shots, the 1 shot, rashes breaking out on folk that has taken the shot. I don't know. This is a very touch and go situation, especially when the Black community is in question. I'm not sure. I don't know how we can overcome such insurmountable odds.
Right.
Bro Snow, I am so honest. I mean, I'm delighted about the honesty of your answer, because whoever listening out there on the radio, you are speaking where 50% of our people are. Brother Jerry said we got the other 50%. We just got to make sure, and with the mayor, and if the county, I need you, Jerry, to help me. I got the mayor, but I thought I was going to have the county. This one particular person in the county, what he told, I called him. He was supposed to call me back. He wouldn't call me back. I don't want to have to bring all the clergy down to whatever that county
commissioner.
But I will do it. I call my boys. I said, put on your black suit and your white shirt and you're going down there. But I don't want to do that. I want to do it because of good conscience, and you believe this the right thing to do. But I will do it. That's what I have to do, to put pressure on them to partner with us, because with what the mayor have done, his funding, I can only take care of the city. I can't go outside the city limit. But if I can get the county to partner with me, I can go from one end of the county to the other, and the funding will be spent appropriately. Now, back to, so Jerry, I need you to help me on. You got a lot of influence. I need your help there. Tomorrow, me and you need to talk. We need to get on. We won't be on the docket. I want this approved by the 15th of this month. So I need your help. Whoever we got to call, say, listen, William and Jerry coming y'all way. Y'all give them a thumb up. And do as the mayor said, have them at least match or double what the county got way more money than the city. So let's just say if the mayor can give $100, they ought to be able to give $200.
Exactly.
A question for you, Pastor.
Ask the other question though, real quick. I know we're out of time.
Okay, go ahead.
This is what it's going to take. And I learned this in seminary. In order to really to be effective as a leader in a congregation, you have to learn how to pastor the pastors in your congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Bill is a pastor in his community. So instead of trying to get all the ones up under him, I got to get him.
Mm-hmm.
I get him, folk will follow him. I don't have the ability to go to all the people but if I can convince him, then he would then help me do my job. So I have to go to trusted voices in that community who trust me, and then they would trust them. That's to me, that is very important. And we're going to do that through marketing. We got a big grant now. We're going to use it wisely. I think it still should be big. I tried to get more. He backed down and kicked it to the county, but I'll put pressure on him. I'll be back to him again too. I believe in this, but we're gonna market, we're gonna advertise, like on your show, on all black and brown network, TVs, radio. We're gonna put money out there, and then we're gonna have field workers and community activists. We're gonna bring them on, we're gonna pay them at minimum wage. Or that $15 hour, that's what I call minimum wage. You're gonna pay them $15 hour to get out there and get me names. Get shots in them. Get shots in them. That's your job. That's your job. And then you send your voucher, show them you got this shot, you get your money. We're gonna do this with all means necessary. But the other question is that people who've gotten the shots think that they are immune, and that is, I know you want to go to the next part, voter, because this is very important, but we still have to let them know you can still get sick, and 5% of you still can die from COVID, even though you got it. Don't take that unnecessary chance. So we have to continue to convey that as well. Just because you got the shot don't mean you can't get it, don't mean you can't die from it. But you do have a certain sense of protection by taking it. You 94% chance out, or you 74% chance out. I'll take, if I was a gambler, what I used to be a good gambler, Doc. You didn't want to gamble with me. I get you. I got to live. I'll take if I got a 94% chance of winning this hand, Doc, I'm gonna throw everything in. I'm gonna throw everything in on you.
But I have two more statements on this, and then we're gonna move on. Pastor Williams and Snow, what do you think about what is the role of ministers? I think Dr. Williams hit it a little bit, but what are the specific roles as far as ministers have in ensuring that their congregation is vaccinated, and also
or at least made aware.
Right? But what's the role of the ministers? I haven't heard that. I have Dr. Williams as one minister, but I want overall, what are the ministers doing? And then just found out that Pfizer is only good for approximately 6 months, and so how do you feel about that? And I'm gonna you think about that, ANNETHA, because I'm leaving that up to you. I want you to ask that question. How do you feel about Pfizer being will only protect you for 6 months? Okay, tell me about the pastors of the churches. What responsibility do they have?
I think I already answered that once. And for the large part, in my association, about 90 to 95% of the pastors, they're on board. I had a couple of pastors who didn't want it at first, and they didn't want their church to take it. And it was interesting. He has a large congregation here. And so I called him. I said, listen, man, I need you. How many? He said, man, I don't nobody in my church want that. And I should have knew that was him talking. I know him, but I said, okay. And then as this was when we were passing out vouchers, one of his members called me. And she said, Dr. Williams, she said, how can we get these vouchers? We got a lot of folks in our church that want to get the vaccine. I said, that's right. I said, I tell you what, I said, I respect pastoral leadership. I said, you call your pastor. And I said, now I offered to him first. Don't you tell him I said that now. You probably listening now. I said, don't tell him, don't tell him I told you. But I always heard, he said, none of y'all don't want it. I said, you tell him to call me back and I get him for him. She said, done deal. We won 30 minutes later. Hey, bro.
Okay.
So sometimes you got to even go around the pastor to get to the people, to get back to the pastor. But whatever it takes, I'm willing to do it. And I told him, Doc, I ain't mad on you. I ain't mad with you. Whatever it takes, I'm okay. If I got to look stupid, I'll do it. Because I believe it's morally the right thing. Now notice, let me say the 6-month thing and then Anita can speak. 6 months give us enough time to get on the other side.
Okay.
If people cooperate.
Okay.
We can get out of the wilderness to the promised land if they'll cooperate. So 6 months could be all hallelujah to Jesus.
We've been across this Jordan.
Yeah, that we need to cross that Jordan. But if we don't get that 6 months, I'm done now.
What I want you.
What Anita?
Oh, Anita. Okay. That's right.
So, Bill, did you say you haven't gotten your vaccination yet?
Don't go there. I got to get him first. Don't mess with
I have not, Sister Anita, but my pastor has, though. He was quick to tell me a month ago. He showed me his arm. He got his.
So we have freedom of choice. So I won't put too much pressure, but I would say the alternative is we all know that COVID is killing for sure. So if you get the shot, you stand a greater chance of surviving. So I think I really would like to see you survive. I like you, and I want to read your book, and I want to talk with you about your book. So I want you to be around longer.
I want to survive. Lord knows I do now. I'm not like the guy, Pastor Williams' friend that he saw in Winn-Dixie the other day. I'm not like, I believe in COVID. I mean, I know.
Well, you got to get your shot.
I social distance. I wash my hands. And I stay away from them Miami partiers.
Gotta go that one step further. But anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I digress. So Carol, the question was about the 6 months of Pfizer. I agree with Dr. Williams. I feel like, obviously we wish it, could be a much longer period of time. I didn't even know that until you just said it. But whatever we can get now to take us a little bit further than where we are. Every little bit matters. So I was watching the news and they were saying that in some of these states it's starting to grow and there's some concerns. And so if we do have the vaccine, we stand a better chance of surviving. So whatever, even if it's a month, I would take, if they had told me you get one more month of surviving, I would still have taken it.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I was just gonna say, Bill.
Can I, Jerry, go ahead. I want to come back. And now this is what I really believe will help get it done. But when I brought it up on the statewide task force, they wouldn't listen to me. I'm gonna tell you what I believe. I mentioned on here before. I said if you put, what did I say, bro?
1,400. If you tied it to the step.
They give them that $1,400, they have been in line.
Not me.
Money, you would have got that.
But Jerry, I believe bro Bill will beat us in that line.
He would have taken it then, wouldn't he?
He'd have took it. Yeah. That $1,400. Really, they should have made it $2,000. You get $2, hit me. Never hit me, brother. Hit me.
That's right. Hesitation.
I was gonna say that, Bill. I know you were talking about the people that gotten sick from it, and those who have got the itching, what you call it, the rash from it. Well, the CDC did a report. I wished I had that with me, but they're saying that it's like 0.000 point something percent, not even 1% of the population is have the rash or anything. The ones that have taken both shots have not been really affected by it. But what we have to also recognize that when we go to the hospital, there's people always putting something in us. It's some kind. They're giving you some kind of medicine intravenous. If you go and take a pill, if you watch television, you see this pill got about 40 different side effects from it. And everything they give you it take poison, something to kill poison. And most people don't realize that's why they use cocaine in most of the medicine, and heroin is in medicine. So, we don't recognize it because it's something we don't do. but you know, except some of us maybe, but overall, most of the things that, you know, I talked about it the other day, you know, we had a vaccine for the bubonic plague, influenza, scarlet fever, smallpox, measles, cholera, malaria, chickenpox, Lyme disease, whooping cough. All of these things we got vaccines for. But the thing about it, what was our problem was the vaccines was kept from us. We were dealing with medical apartheid because we were Black, and that was the thing that makes us so so afraid, or maybe more disenchanted than other people to deal with the science. But you know, we know science proves that things can be done and healed. We have to, you know, because all the doctors are scientists, you know, it's all they are, and you know, and biologists and all of that. So they dealing with the human body, so they know how to deal with it.
Right.
Well, see, everybody on the panel that has gotten the shot, I can see how it is already taking its effect where they are controlling y'all to have. I had to get that in, y'all. I had to get that in. I had to.
We haven't sprouted the wings. Yeah.
Hey, you know what my nephew told his grandmother? He told her, "Grandma, don't take that shot." And he called all through our family. And I'm glad that they listen to me over here, because we got a huge family. He told them, he said, "Listen, man." He said, "Grandma, don't do this. They putting chips in you. They are going to control you." He can't. I don't know what, but I found out where he getting his information from. It's out there in social media.
Yeah,
it's in social media.
You know who the root behind this?
Yeah.
Russia.
Yeah.
Russia been passing this disinformation to Black folk for the last 15 years. And that's why they recruited that nut DJT, whatever his, because they understood the divide that was taking place between the Black and the white community, because they had been feeding these through social media this disinformation. And so they said, now let's weaponize it and take it to the political arena. And who you think we know who will promote it? That old DJT. Well, he promoted it they didn't think he was going to win, which I still believe he won. But
no, he didn't. He cheated. They cheated.
They did everything they could. But once they got him in the office, they like, wow, we got this, and they still doing it.
Yeah, we've got to move on, because we've got to talk. Time is just running. You know how this show, hour and a half, goes by very fast. But we've got to move on and talk about HR 1 and what's going on in Georgia, and those For the People's Act. Talk about a little bit about that, Jerry, so we can get into.
Okay, just first, let me just say, there was an incident in Washington, D.C. yesterday where the young Black guy caused the death of one Capitol Police, and another one got hurt. But they were trying to tie it to Minister Farrakhan. You know, that it was, you know, as if, because this guy had Farrakhan on his page, his Facebook page. Well, Minister Farrakhan, you have never heard him call for the death of anybody. You never heard him say be violence. As a matter of fact, he always restrained from that. Now, what they have said, if somebody attacked you, you defend yourself, which we all should believe in. But the thing about it, to try to tie that to him, and this one guy, he just kept on saying it yesterday. And I'm like, I got Minister Farrakhan on my Facebook. I met Minister Farrakhan in Chicago. I've studied some at his foot years ago. So what is he talking about? You know, that, you know, somebody that has some mental conditions do some damage to somebody, but by the same token, they saying that he was mental incapacitated in many instances.
But please note that he wasn't taken alive, and he sure as heck.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't taken alive.
Okay, you wanna, Jerry wanna get that in.
Yeah, I had to get that out. Because I wasn't gonna let that stand.
But we wanna talk about Jim Crow for a while. Time is getting short, and we wanna give them some examples of Jim Crow law. So tell us why we're going.
Well, you know, we are talking about Jim Crow because of what's happening in Georgia, but in not only Georgia, but 40
7.
other states,
47.
you know, 46 other states besides Georgia. So the thing about it, if we don't understand these laws, these draconian laws that they are putting in place now, we want, you know, we have to know the past, so how we can fight in the future to make sure that these things, these kinds of laws will not stand, because what they are doing and what they have said is that Black voters are criminals, that somehow we stole elections in Republicans' territory, that they had Secretary of States who was Republican governors, Republican state senators and House members, all was Republicans. In most of the states where Black people turned out heavily in large numbers. But what Trump did is to go out there and tell this big lie, and now they're trying to reverse it and say we are telling the big lie after they are putting in these draconian and Jim Crow laws that bringing them back to the fore. They never left, but they are bringing them back with like they say 2.0 Jim Crow with suits on, suits and ties.
Anytime you can't give water to a person standing in line or food, we've gone too far. We're going too far back. Can you explain, one of you all on the host, about the For the People's Act, which is HR 1?
Well, the For the People's Act is to restore a lot of the act, a lot of the voting that has been taken away, to end gerrymandering and a whole host of unconstitutional really laws. Because what it has done is it violates the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But the thing about it, none of those have ever been enforced. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment have never been enforced. And so now nobody, to me, is filing these briefs or these cases on the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment, which should stand the test of time in court. But that's something that we're going to have to look into.
So does anybody believe if HR 1 is not passed, that it's going to be detrimental for the Democrats or for Black people overall if it's not passed? Because they're saying on news and on television that we must have the For the People's Act HR 7 passed. Do you agree with that, Mr. Snow?
You know what? I'm not sure of the exact particulars on it, so I'll yield the floor.
Okay.
Well, go ahead, Doc.
That I forgot what I was going to say. I guess that shot is getting me in it.
You don't
give him ammunition.
Thank you so much.
Well, the HR 1
I got it. That's old age. That ain't the shot.
yeah, that's
Now I forgot again. Ain't that something?
Oh, no. Don't get Bill.
I already thank you.
I'm having fun. I'm winding him in. Check this out. This HR 1 and Senate Bill 1, it must pass, because this is what the Republicans have decided, that they cannot win a majority rule election. So they want to be in power with minority rule. And so they don't care a million folk vote. They gonna craft laws so that they can still maintain power. And
That's what I said. That's what I said.
That's why we have to. And I don't know anyone know this. I'm a big advocate and fan of President Joe Biden. And I didn't just get on the bandwagon now. I had already, I liked him before President Barack came to the US Senate. I don't know why, sometimes my spirit just will mess with some people. But I watched President Joe Biden when President Obama was a freshman senator. John McCain was the chair of this particular committee. I think it was the Senate Armed Force Committee.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden was the vice chair. Well, they was discussing and everything. And then when it came time, because they put President Obama on there, it time for him to speak, he started speaking against what John McCain was saying. And John McCain said, shut up. In so many words, be quiet. You're a freshman senator. You ain't been here long enough to be voicing your opinion. You don't know nothing about anything. Do you know what Senator Biden did in that meeting? I watched it. He said, stop it, John. Wait a minute. He said he got just as much right to speak as we do, and you will not treat him that way. And those John McCain and Biden were good friends. That spoke character to me. When you would tell your friend on TV, no, dog, I don't roll like that, man. You're not, just because he's the only black person up here, you're not going to treat him that way. Now, and this what the irony of the whole thing. Notice who President Obama picked to be his vice president to go against McCain. Yeah, nobody never really thought about that. So watch this. They got the right person in there. He doesn't care what the KKKs, these other white people are saying behind the scene. He's going to tell them, no, they're not going to do this. Now you get on board, or he's going to tell Manchin and Sinema, listen, you better get it. I'll put so much pressure on you, I'll run you slap up out of DC if you don't get it passed. And so he's going to get it passed, but he trying to first get them to try to act like, he giving them a chance to be senators to voice their concern. And then he going to say, listen, make it happen.
I happen to believe that he is a man of integrity as well.
I want to read what Calvin Brothers said. I agree with him wholeheartedly. He says, here's my question. Should the federal government take over the election process and remove it from individual states so that there's one universal set of election laws? By the way, the electoral, college
should be removed.
College should be removed.
Yeah.
Now, what he's saying is, should they move it from the states and have one universal set of election laws?
I thought that HR 1 was going to be a law when it passed, that it would supersede all of these individual state laws. There's some 253 different laws that are being presented in courts across this land in 47 different states in reference to election rules. I'm like, Jerry, I think that the popular vote should select our president. That electoral college thing is draconian, as Jerry would say, it's outdated. Just as outdated as these Jim Crow laws should be that are not.
Well, Bill, one of the things the HR, it would supersede state law, and not everything in state law, but most of the state law, like gerrymandering, it would expand voting rights, and they would, and if the John Lewis along with, most people get John Lewis and the HR 1 confused. They think it's the same bill, but it's not. It's two different bills. Under the John Lewis bill, John Lewis wanted the bill to go back to 1965. And then under 1965 bill, there was a pre-clearance in the 1965 Voting Rights Act, meaning states that was under the pre-clearance could not do anything unless they came out through the Justice Department. HR 1 would cover that as well, but I say that that these states should, through the Justice Department, if they can't get the bill passed, then they should put the states under consent decrees, and that way the Justice Department would still have control over what goes on in those states as far as voting is concerned. But there's no doubt in my mind, if they can't get this bill passed, it's going to be detrimental for not only for Black people, but for the Democrat Party and democracy in general. So that's what we're going to have to watch. Because this is not just against Black people. This is against white people. It's against brown people. It's against democracy. Period. That's what they are trying to move the country toward the authoritarian form of government it's a dictatorship under the guise of democracy.
One of the things we must realize that there's two components of this. You've got the voter suppression part of it, which they're trying to stop the vote. They're trying to minimize the vote. But then Dr. Williams said something that we needed to listen to, because it's the second part of what they're doing is they changed the laws and put people in position so that I don't care if 5 million people vote. If they take okay, forget about the voter suppression laws. The way they have it set up is that the second component is that they can call the election the way they want to call it, because they place people while we're looking at voter suppression. They then were putting people in line to call the election no matter what. So we have to fight from two components. We have to fight from two angles here.
Right.
Don't just get caught up in voter suppression.
Can I add back to the question earlier about the John Lewis bill and HR 1? Neither one of those bills addressed electoral college, because the electoral college is constitutional. And in order for the electoral college to be changed, you have to have 2/3 votes of all the states around the country. So I think it's Article 2 of the Constitution. I think it states that each state will have 2 senators. So they got to have
67.
Yeah, you got to get 67% around the country, and it talks about that. It talks about how these states got to have electors. See, the electoral college is actually who elects the president.
Right.
So they'll say like Florida will have 37 electors. All right. And you got to get up to what is it, 270.
270.
You got to get 70. So the Constitution has already orchestrated that. So, but they can have a federal standard that we're gonna have set hours. We're gonna have all this set stuff, and we're gonna restrict redistricting and all of that. And so we have to have a constitutional amendment to move the electoral college, but you can make it almost universal if we pass HR 1 and the John Lewis bill.
HR 4, okay.
So I know that they use the language popular vote with the electoral college when even though most I don't think one Republican in the last 16 maybe longer have around 30 years almost have won the majority of the American people's vote.
Right.
But they got elected by the electoral college.
In his second term, Bush got the popular vote. He didn't get it the first time because they took it from him from Gore. But the second time he got the popular vote, and that's the last time.
Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah, that's been almost about 20 years almost. Yeah.
Okay. So with the Jim Crow, all of this is going on. So with the new Jim Crow laws, let's look at 5 oppressive components of Jim Crow. It was economic oppression. It was political oppression. It was legal oppression, social oppression, and personal oppression. Now, economic oppression, someone talk about that. What happened? Just a little summary of economic
They
oppression.
said the Jim Crow system was originally established by middle class and upper class whites who were afraid of poor blacks and poor whites working together. In order to keep the poor people from threatening the power of the ruling white, new laws were made that separate the poor of both races. Blacks were given the worst jobs for the lowest pay. Certain good jobs were set aside for whites only. So it tells you right there, these draconian laws was put in place, and they are working just the way they said. That's what I like about Dr. Barbara. Dr. Barbara come with the infusion campaign, fusion campaign rather. That we got to get the poor whites. We got to transform them as well as black people in general, so we can work together, brown people, Asian people, and poor white people, because we are all suffering under the same iron fist of the super rich and the so-called upper class whites.
That's an uphill battle, because those poor whites voted against their own best interest here just 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, for the last 30 or 40 years, they've been voting against their own interests.
Yeah, but as poor as they are 4 months ago, they needed $2,000 worth, and I did and voted against it.
Yeah.
What about the political oppression under Jim Crow? What was that like? What was political?
After the Civil War, poor blacks and white farmers worked together to elect politicians who supported them, but the politicians they elected gave them better government roles and better work conditions. In response, one major goal of Jim Crow was to ensure that poor whites and blacks would never unite again. To stop the black political threats, blacks were disenfranchised or not allowed to vote. Lack of voting power made blacks unable to remove elected officials they did not like. It also made them easy targets for politicians who wanted to distract the white voters' attention from unfair taxes and corrupt government.
And you see that right now.
Everything
that we are talking about that they did way back in the early 1800s is happening right today.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell said other day that he was not going to vote for the infrastructure bill.
Yes.
Infrastructure is where poor whites and poor blacks work at, in construction and building and housing. All of that is where poor people are less skilled workers in the higher educational fields. This is where they work at. That means you're going to create 2 to 3 million jobs, and every time you create that many jobs, it's a spinoff. More stores open, more small business open, clothing stores, shoe stores. People are able to buy more, and those are good paying jobs. The average job from construction pays between $15 and $30 an hour, depending on what you're doing. And then if you're building bridges and all that, you're talking engineers and all of the other people that go along. Those are $90,000 to $150,000 a year job.
I see Joe Biden on a path to becoming one of the greatest, because he's got all the right ideas. It's just up to us to hold those that represent us accountable and make sure that they do the right thing. Because you're absolutely right, Jerry. This infrastructure bill, it has a lot of good things in it.
And the thing about it, we could have so many, if we don't have people that can do the contracting work, we can have a lot of subcontractors, especially black people that can do the subcontractor, land foundation, and all of that.
Legal oppression deals mostly with what we've known for a long time. Blacks have a very difficult time in courts, even to this day. The court system is not geared toward black people.
Can I say that? And I hope I'm wrong, but when you look at the makeup of that jury,
Concerning.
You better rest assured that they ain't trying to acquit him.
No.
They want a hung jury.
Yeah, that's it.
They done put 6 white on there, 8 white, 6 or 8. Hey, they knew what they were doing. they wouldn't have did that for, look at that right in that same state, they convicted a black policeman.
Yeah.
Quickly. 12 years. They gave him 12 years. The one that
Shooting that white woman
shot that white woman in the alley.
In which I think it was an accident.
It was.
Yeah, but
you know good and well it was an accident if he's still alive. Or ain't on death row. It was an accident.
Notice that judge that's presiding over that case, he's scolding this firefighter woman.
Yeah.
Truth to this wicked defense counsel.
Right. Right. And they
pundits and commentators get on TV and say, well, he trying to just make sure that it's fair and balanced. That's a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah, and they didn't bring her back the next day.
They didn't. Because the judge is on the side of that police.
Oh, yeah.
He first kicked out third-degree charges on him. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court of the state, and they said, put it back in.
Yeah.
And he didn't let them know it was back in till the day for the trial, a few days before the trial started. He didn't want to do it, but that Supreme Court was going to kick him off.
Yeah.
So we still suffer from legal oppression, and that's what Jim Crow is really all about. It is the criminalization of Black folks through the legal system.
Absolutely.
And the one who come in contact with the first leg of it is white people in the community. What do? They call the police.
Yeah.
That's where it all started. A white woman said a Black man looked at her wrong. The police jumped.
Yeah.
And once that start, the wheel now start turning, and all the way till you give him life in prison or the death, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Or being murdered right there, judge, jury, and executioner by the beat cop.
And so we have to change these laws to get rid of all these corrupt politicians and corrupt judges and racist people who, you know what Black folk want in America? At least I can't speak for all Black folk, but what I want. Just to be treated fair.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you let me compete against a counterpart of my equal, I beat him every day.
You know, I was arguing with somebody about the Dred Scott decision some years back, and they said, well, the 13th Amendment overturned Dred Scott. I said, they said that, but it was never overturned. If you were going to overturn something that the Supreme Court set up, it has to be overturned by the Supreme Court. Regardless of how many amendments you put out there, Dred Scott, under the Dred Scott decision, it said, Tanner said, there were no law that Black man can bring that a white man must respect.
Exactly.
So that lets you know right there, and that law will never overturn. And I think that law need to be revisited. You know, even though they saying that the 13th Amendment overturned it, but it never did.
Well, y'all, it's 8:29, and we're going to have to get out here. We've got 1 minute. And of course, we'd never get to all of our topics, but we'll continue next week, and we'll get on with some of the Jim Crow laws themselves and discuss them. But it's been a wonderful show. I do want to give ANNETHA the last word as far as, again, you cannot push your book enough. We're so glad you were on the show. We're glad that Dr. Williams said, my sister is an author and she'll be glad to come on the show. Thank you. So you want to say something?
I would very briefly. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to each of you guys, and I have enjoyed the show. I plan to tune in now more often. Like, I'll be in the background listening to you guys have your conversations and learn from you guys and support what you guys are saying on the stage here. So thank you again. And my book, once again, is From Poverty to Principle, a guide to promote equity and student advocacy. There's something in there for everyone, and it takes a village. So thank you guys for having me.
Okay, last word, just one word, Bill Snow, just one word of positive influence to the community.
Happy Resurrection Sunday, everybody. I love you all.
So, Dr. Williams?
You took my words. I guess being last, everybody always say what I was. You know.
All right, and
I just want to say that we still got to deal with the laws that's coming here in Florida. And so I guess we need to deal with that on next Sunday on Our Voices. A portion of that law should be, we need to address these laws that's coming down. I think it's SB 90 and all of that has to be addressed.
One word.
Yeah, that is one word, SB 90.
all right, you all. With that, thank you everyone for listening to the show.
And all the people that watched.
All the show people that watch, continue to watch and support Community Conversations and Our Voices to People's meeting on Thursdays. Watch Jerry and Carol as we just have a little conversation about what's going on in the community. With that, you all.
Now we have to say something about Vern. Vern, well, be sure to catch Vernon at WBQP TV 12.5, Fire Stick, Roku, and YouTube. That's Vernon Watson. We want to thank
subscribe
Vernon.
to the show.
Yeah, and subscribe. Go hit the red button.
All right, then, you all. We'll see you all later. See you next Sunday, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.